welcome to Kudos International Latte Show. And I am your host, Dr. Supriya Kumaravelan. The evening, the morning, the noon has arrived once again. And today, once again, we are going to have a lovely and lively experience, inspiring journey with one of my amazing guests from United States. And if you want to check it out, who is he? Then you have to look over here. Here is my guest, Melih Oztalay from United States. Welcome, Melih, to our show, and it's been a great pleasure sharing my coffee, that is Kiddos International Latte Coffee, with you. Once again, a grand welcome to you.
Wonderful to be on the show, Supriya. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I know, and as I have told you earlier, this is going to be super amazing, super awesome because we have a very inspiring global icon, Melih Oztalay. So, without any pause, without any delay, let's start this wonderful journey. And Melih, everybody is so excited to know what is, what was, and what will be Melih Oztalay's life journey.
Yeah, life journey. It's an interesting one. I can tell you that. Very quickly, my family background's Turkish, but we've been pretty much living outside of that space my whole life. I grew up in Germany. I was in Frankfurt. Um, And from a life journey standpoint, it's something that's interesting, and I don't know how many people experience this, but I would go to school and speak English because I was going to the American schools in Frankfurt. I would come back home, and in our German neighborhood, I had German friends, and so I'd speak German. And then my parents come home, and we speak Turkish. And so within a single day, you got three different languages going on, three different cultures very quickly. And so I think that was an interesting part. The other interesting part is just the fact of living in Frankfurt. It's such a central city with people from all over the world. And so I got the chance to experience all these different cultures, all these different people, um, you know, uh, going back and forth to Turkey back in those days. And so you'd have to go through the old Yugoslavia. You'd have to go through, Bulgaria before you got to Turkey. And so these are the types of life journeys that I found interesting. In other words, we're living on this planet, and it's a diverse planet, as we all know, and it has grown in the number of people that are living on it. And some people, that's all they're doing is living on it instead of in it. Um, and so this is, when I think about my life journey, this is an important part of it. Um, and then the rest of my life was spent in the United States, so where I started my company.
Wow, this is great one, Mele. And as you said, life is a continuous journey which is composed of a lot of hurdles, lot of challenges, ups and downs. And now we can say Mele is the CEO of Smart Field Marketing. We all know that. But Mele, one thing I wanted to know from the depth core of my heart, in this beautiful journey, which says lot of challenges in your life. So I want to know, along with my global audience, that what sort of challenges you have faced, and the most beautiful thing, how did you overcome those challenges? So it will add beauty to my question.
Yeah. Well, let me continue on the same subject, okay,
Sure.
of cultures and people. I think that's the one different differentiating factor. And so I think a challenge that we all face is understanding a different culture, right? The culture, the language. It's one thing to be a tourist when you're someplace. It's another thing when you go to another country and you live in it and you're living your day-to-day life. And so, for example, for me, if I had to think, I'm just going to pick two. Um, One big challenge was I grew up in Frankfurt in Germany back during the 1960s and 70s, and I was used to the Americans that I came across there. So it tended to be Americans of families that worked within the armed forces, right? Whether it was Air Force, Army, Marines, etc. Um, and so the my peers were all American. Their parents are American, and they are also, interestingly enough, traveling the world. And so their parents usually would be stationed in Frankfurt for 3 years, and then they get moved on someplace else unless they got an extension. But nonetheless, the story over here, just to keep it focused, is the fact that the Americans I was used to, because all I did was live in Frankfurt the entire time, were those of the armed forces. Now, I came into a culture shock when I actually moved to the United States back in 1981 and went to college. And I found that Americans stateside are very different. And to some extent, I will go as far as saying that a lot of them are isolated. They're compared to the Americans who are within the armed forces that travel the world. So they also get to experience culture, language, people, whereas a lot of the people in the United States are isolated from a lot of that and don't have the same experiences. And so for me, that was an interesting culture shock. And I won't get into the details, but the only way to overcome that was time. It was time to get used to the people, how they talked, what they did, what they said, and how that impacted, uh, you know, uh, my experiences with them. So that was an interesting situation. The second one I will tell you is one that happened more recently. In other words, my parents becoming older, and to the point where somebody needs to take care of them and manage their finances, their properties, and so on and so forth. And so I had to actually go back to Turkey about 8 years ago and to help settle them in and to get in, and to figure out how to make things work inside of Turkey. And here too, I ran into an interesting culture shock because it was one thing as uh, to be a tourist coming to Turkey and visiting relatives and family, for example. But it's an entirely different thing when you actually go and live there, right? So you need to have a bank account, you need a credit card, you need an ATM card, you need a cell phone, right? You need an address, you need the basics. Where do you go buy your groceries, and how do you communicate with people at the local level? And so partly I had a language barrier because my Turkish isn't all that great living outside of Turkey. So I had to really, it was like a forced learning, trying to learn. But then there's the culture side of it, right? People that live within a country, and the same thing happened with the United States, right? So if people are just living in the country and they don't get out and they don't have those cultural experiences, they have a difficult. It's really, for me, it's difficult to communicate with them because they have a narrow focus, whereas my focus is quite broad with my experiences. And
Very true.
so going to Turkey and helping my parents became another interesting uh, journey, so to speak, and a challenge of trying to learn, understand people within that country. I don't have it down packed yet, believe me. So
Very true.
those would be some challenges that kind of flow with my life experience and journey.
Melih, this is really, really incredible. When you said culture shock, challenges, and language barrier, I totally
Mhm.
agree with you. And when
Mhm.
you are in some other different country, when you are unaware of their language, you don't know what to speak, how do you communicate, and what he or she will understand, because we are doing from our culture. And if your onlookers will understand something different, then it will be a mess. And I totally agree with you. But the most beautiful thing I really loved about your journey, your challenges, that you handled it very coolly, and
Yeah.
very systematically, very organizingly. Even when you went to Turkey to take care of your parents, that was also a very great, a great chance to
Mhm.
again face those barriers. But at last, with your zeal, with your zest, and with your great potentiality, you won over the millions and millions of challenges and turn into golden opportunities. So I really hats off to you for your potential, for your vigor, for your strength, and most important, your perseverance. Great
Thank
one.
you very much. Yeah, it takes a lot of patience, let me tell
Well,
you.
and this is the tip I for all the global audience. If you are looking live, if you are watching live, or will be watching this video later, whenever you are moving, as Melih said in his journey to any different country, don't lose your hope, don't lose your patience, and just learn the language and be mingle in the culture where you are staying. So this is the
Work through it.
loveliest
Work
message
through
I
it.
can grab from your life. A great one.
Mhm.
Well,
Definitely.
Melly, this is all about your journey, your challenges, your ups and downs, and your potentiality. But now it's time to know, when I was designing your flyer, I was saying, wow, what a digital marketing expert I'm going to host. And the way you said about your 30 million clients you have helped, I was just astonished. So, this is the time to know about your great profession, what profession you're into, and how the global audience can leverage from your profession and be the best version of themselves. So, it's the profession.
Okay, so let's go through that conversation. Um, so my company is 37 years old this year. It was started in 1987. I started the internet group in 1994, so very early on in the process. We had a lot of fun in the 1990s when it came to marketing because we had no rules as far as the internet was concerned. And that was kind of fun for a little while. um, but by the time we got to 2004, we went 100% digital. And so I haven't looked back in 20 years. It was the right decision to make to move outside of the traditional media. We're in the Detroit metropolitan area, so as you can imagine, when you have the three largest automotive companies in the world headquartered in the Detroit metro area, you also have the largest advertising agencies of the world in the Detroit metro area, and anybody and everybody that supports all of that when it comes to marketing, right? Whether it's print, whether it's TV, radio, digital, everything. So the problem in the traditional media world, especially in the Detroit metropolitan area, is the fact that yes, there's a lot of money that's flowing through Detroit because of the automotive industry, but by the same token, more and more budget was going to digital, less to traditional. And needless to say, there was a dime a dozen people vying for a smaller and smaller pot. And so, like I said, I haven't looked back in terms of the decision we made in 2004 to just go 100% digital. Um, in 2009, we received an award from the state of Michigan, being a company to watch, so to speak, a second stage company. And we do have, a full team of people working. So creative, technical, marketing, writers, right? Everybody trying to cover all the different spaces of the marketing industry and the marketing services, the solutions, the activities, the tasks, everything, that goes into this, managing projects, managing the process. I mean, at the end of the day, marketing is a process. It's a cycle. And so you have activities, you have tasks, you have strategies, you have plans. All these things have to be improved upon. But we got a recognition for the work that we did and the companies that we provided our services to. That was in 2009. In 2010, I started to become a industry author. I started then moved on into becoming an industry speaker. So I was invited to conferences to speak. And for a little while, we had radio stations calling me up, and so I joined radio stations as well. Then that took us through to about 2000, 2020, when we got the pandemic and everything went online. And so nowadays you can find me on podcasts and videocasts, just like your lovely show.
Wow, this is really lovely to know. Melih, first of all, I would really appreciate the work which you are into. Like when you said about getting the award, moving on, and doing with a lot of knowledgeable things. And after 2020, everybody knows everything was digitalization online.
Yeah.
And really, I really see this is a blessing period for so many entrepreneurs, for so many podcaster, YouTuber, blogger, and really, you can say a revolution has begun on 2020. So I can say only one thing: utilize the time as Melih has utilized in his journey. And after 2020, digitalization, transformation, which we all are seeing together. And now you can see Kudos International Latte Show. I'm in India and I'm hosting Melih from United States. So this is the best example of digitalization. Yeah. And globally, trust me, today, if you are in any part of the country, you're in the United States, UK, India, Germany, anywhere, we all can communicate better. We all can do our business better. And that's the beauty and that's the potentiality, magic miracles of digitalization. So I really appreciate your work and I would love to draw the attention of my global viewers, audiences. Kindly connect with Melih Oztalay if you are working in the field of digital marketing or digitalization, and if you want to leverage from his power, then I can say Melih is the best example who has a lot of potentiality in this great field. So just make use of your time, just make use of this golden opportunity. Awesome, Melih, for your beautiful, inspiring, and mind blowing journey. Great one.
On that note, if you don't mind, let
Sure.
me just interject. The best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. And one
Yeah.
thing I tell a lot of my people that connect with me is tag me on your posts, like Matt Allen does. He tags me all the time. And so um, when you tag me, I get an email. And so now I can go to your post, I can react on it. And when I write a comment, it's something of substance with the hashtags, with the idea is, hey, let me help you promote your post. It's not about me, it's about your post. And because of a large network that I have that keeps growing, there's more and more people that have the opportunity of seeing your post, and therefore you're getting a greater exposure. I think people seem to miss using LinkedIn in this fashion, and so we have to keep in mind it's about relationship building.
Exactly, I do agree with you, Melek. Yes. How do you take the social media? It entirely depends upon like cutting an apple with a knife or cutting your own nose with that particular knife. So you should know how to use the social media and how to take the best advantage of it. And so everything depends on you, your credentiality, your credibility, and your thought process. This is really
Yeah,
great, Melek. So, moving forward to Kudos International Latte Show with Melih
sure.
Oztalay. Now, this is the time to know something and so many things about us from you, Melih. What is your opinion about Kudos International? Anything from your heart, straight from your heart, anything which you want to
Sure.
share?
I had a chance to get to meet Matt a few months. I can't remember. It's been a while. Let's just say within the last year, we've met, and I enjoyed learning what Kudos International is trying to accomplish. I think Matt has a great vision. Certainly, the way that things are happening around the world, we have to take a different approach to how we live in the world. It's not just being on it, but how do we live in it? And I think Kudos International helps to emphasize the importance of individual health, individual dignity, I think this idea of having people be the center of um, solving global problems is important. And I think that's an interesting message to keep in mind about Kudos International, meaning that we have to get people to affect change. Change meaning that it's up to us. It's not up to the governments. It's not up to the media for that matter. It's up to people to decide what to do. And I think what Matt and the Kudos team is doing is helping to create that environment for people to understand that they can do this on their own, that they can, in fact, make decisions and affect change. I think in the United States, they talk about this as being grassroots efforts, right? And that's what I think Kudos International is doing. And hats off to you guys. I think this is going to be an interesting journey for you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Much gratitude, Melih, for boosting our morale also, because sometimes we
Right.
also need some boosting and so
Okay.
that we can also grow up. And yes, the most welcome for your great suggestions and great, beautiful words. And of course, our founder and CEO, Matt Allen, who has crafted this beautiful platform for engaging with so many great personalities across the globe. We are doing our best and hope we will be doing it best, better, and everything which we can do it for humanity and for the society.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for your great words.
Absolutely.
Well, Mele, we talked about your life journey, your challenges, your great work, and also about us too. And before we say goodbye to our lovely audience, great audience, the last but not the least, what is your powerful message to the world today? Everybody's waiting. Although your all answers had a meaning in it, had a you can say hidden message, but still your powerful message is still awaiting. Yeah.
I think the one message I would have on a global basis is this idea that people have to ask questions. They need to ask themselves questions about who they are and their lives and so on. So, but more importantly, ask questions about what's going on around you. Um, this idea of let me just believe what I see on TV or what I read in social media or and so on and so forth. That's all great, but you need to ask the question, is the information that I'm looking at accurate? And so if you start with that question, theoretically, it should take you to the internet where you do research so that you can ask that question in a search, take a look at the results, and not just one results. Take a look at 5, take a look at 10. Take a look and see if the information that you just read or were provided on TV or through social media, for example, is that information accurate? And it's amazing that you will find a majority of the time, and it's unfortunate, but the majority of the time you're going to find that the information is inaccurate. It's either vague or it is just entirely wrong. And I've come across the spectrum. Some information obviously is accurate, and that's great. But a large portion is inaccurate. And why is it inaccurate? It's inaccurate because we have 8 billion people on this planet, and we have the internet, we have social media. People are able to voice their opinions, which I'm not saying they shouldn't, I think they should. But we also have to be careful that the opinions that are being voiced or the information that's being shared is not always right. And so it is up to the individual at this point, which is where I think Kudos comes into play in developing that foundation to help people work through these types of things and understand that they can in fact change. And so you have to take the information and decide whether that's the right information for you. And you have access worldwide, right? I don't care what country you're in, short of being in, let's say, North Korea or maybe Russia or maybe China. For the most part, you have access to other people in different countries. You have the ability to travel, you have the ability to get onto the internet and ask your own questions. You have the ability of getting on the phone and talking to somebody. And so I think this is an important part of where we are in the world is we've seen all these different conflicts going on. That doesn't help. But more importantly, we have to be able to understand that there are always two sides to the story. And it's usually the third option, the combination of what you hear from both sides, that's the final truth. And so this idea of ask questions, don't just believe everything that you're reading and hearing.
That's really a wonderful, very powerful, and very great message. Thank you, Melih, for this. Really, we all need such kind of motivating words, a powerful message, so that we can walk on the same success path where you walked, and now you are the CEO of your great company, and that's your inspiring journey, which has transformed today. Trust me, millions and zillions. So I really appreciate you, Melih, for coming to our show and sharing your life journey with everyone across the globe. This is really, really mind blowing. Thank you so
It was
much.
great being on the show, Supriya.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a great time. This is really, really a powerful, inspiring journey of Melih Oztalay. And now this is time to say goodbye. But before I say goodbye, take care of your health, stay happy, heal and hearty. Bye bye for now. Thank you so much.